Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel Abhimanyu Technologies. So this video explains the difference between Spark Session and Spark Context. So first we'll understand Spark Session, we'll create it, and then we'll move on with Spark Context. So here I've created a Maven project, a sample Maven project. So you can see my pom.xml. So I've imported the three major dependencies: Spark Core, Spark SQL, and Spark Hive. So you basically find it in Maven repository. This is the repository. You can find it for core, SQL, and then Hive. So go inside this. You can pick the version which Spark version you prefer. So the version I'm working is 2.0.0. So these are the dependencies I've picked and created a pom.xml. I have imported all the dependencies now. So now I go on creating Scala object. Let me define a main class. So here I'm going to create Spark Context. Okay. So I'll declare a variable Spark. You can choose whatever name you want to Spark. So in order to create Spark session, I should have imported respective libraries. So it basically present in arg.apache .sql .spark session. So this is the only library we needed for Spark and Spark session creation. Okay. So I'm going to call that here Spark session .builder. Okay, this is the method I need to call Spark session .builder, and I need to set application name to it in order to track it. And then important is master. So this master is basically defining a scheduler for your Spark job. Okay, so here I'm going to use a local resource manager. Okay, you have other option to use Spark standalone resource manager or Masus resource manager or Yarn resource manager. So here I'm working locally with one core. So here I've just assigned only one core, and you can actually change to star to occupy more number of CPU cores present in your local system. So I'm limiting it to one. Okay, and if you want to define any properties, for example, Hive related properties or Spark session related properties, you can define it using config parameter as a key value pair. You can pass them as a key value pair. And if you are using Hive connection in your job, you need to enable this Hive support. Enable Hive support. Get create. Okay. So Spark session is created. So here, just by using Spark session, I can access Spark SQL. Okay. So when I say Spark SQL, I can access Hive tables also. Hive tables also accessible here, and I can use all the Spark SQL features. I don't have to create a separate context for accessing Hive or for doing Spark SQL operations. So everything is covered within a single Spark session which you have created, Spark context. So now I'll show you how to create Spark context. For Spark context creation, I have changed my pom.xml to use Spark 1.6.0 version. So as I've shown before, you can use the Maven dependencies website and you can pick the dependencies for 1.6.0. And what you need to do, so once we have changed that, you can say re-import. That will import all the libraries required for 1.6.0. So now let's create a sample object. SA context SC object B plus. Okay, so if you see, so how do we create Spark context? So first we start defining a configuration object first. So I'm going to create an object using SparkConf, So here I need to define application name. So I'm going to defining it as testing. So here also I need to define set master. So the same configuration I will use it, local with one core. Okay, the configuration is defined. So now I need to create Spark context. So you can give any name to your variable. I'm using SC. I'm creating an object SC, which is Spark context, using Spark context, and I will pass the configuration inside that. So now your Spark context is created. So using the Spark context created, you can do text file operations. I've created an RDD here. RDD is source. You can do all RDD operation using your Spark context created. What if I need to do SQL kind of operations where you need to perform apply functions on rows and columns? And what if you need to access Hive table and perform create a data frame out of it and do the metrics operations on it, aggregations and all those things? You cannot do it with the normal Spark context. If you're using Spark SQL, you need to create SQL context. How do you create? Well, I'm giving whatever name you prefer, you can do it. Val SQL context equal to new arc dot Apache dot spark dot SQL dot SQL context. Okay, and you need to pass Spark context to it. Now SQL context is created using the Spark context. So now you can do all the Spark SQL operations on the data you are importing. Okay, so if I have to access Hive, I need to create Hive context. So I'm telling again, this is name whatever you prefer, you can give it. New to re-import that Spark SQL. The changes Hive context of SC. This is Hive context. Then what is the difference between Spark SQL and Hive? So in Spark SQL, you can do all the SQL operations like group by, applying all the character functions, number functions, multiple group functions. Everything what you can do with SQL, you can do with Spark SQL. But Spark SQL context created here cannot access Hive tables, or it cannot do any Hive functionalities. So that can be achieved using Hive context. The specialty of Hive context is Hive will do Spark SQL operations along with the additional Hive capabilities. So you don't have to create Spark SQL. You can directly create Hive context itself. You can create Hive context itself as SQL context. So if you want to access, for example, I'm going to import EMP table from SQL context from Hive. So what I will do, let's start from EMP. So this is assume this is EMP table present in Hive default database. I can make use of the SQL context SQL and I can import it. Okay. So this is the reason SparkSession is good in terms of achieving all these features in one context. Okay, this is the major difference between SparkSession and Spark context. Thank you all. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please do like if you like my video.